Hi everyone, this is Bobby from bn-games.com, and we're doing another classic capture for The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures on the Nintendo Gamecube. And this is probably one of the most... it could be one of the most expensive, or...
Theoretically
it can be. Expensive GameCube games, period.
Well, technically, it's the most expensive one we ever did, because you two actually had to go out and buy GameCube cables and 2 Game Boy Advances.
Yes, this is one of the very few games that actually use the GameCube to Game Boy Advance cable, because you
go in and out of using it.
Yeah.
It also serves as your menu screen
and your controller.
Yeah, and it's like a sub-screen, so when you go from caves, you'll play the inside of the cave on the Advance.
Yeah, it's a cooperative game. You don't have to play it with people either. You can play by yourself and control all the links. From what I've read, this game is not considered canon. And in fact, every adventure almost is its own little every chapter is its own little adventure.
This one is considered to be part of the second timeline, which ends up on going to Wind Waker, rather than the first timeline, which ends up going to Twilight Princess.
Gotcha. Well, hey, the more you know.
I do know that for a fact.
I should say that it, from a visual perspective, it recycles a lot of sprites from A Link to the Past, which was on the Super Nintendo. And I'm sorry.
The Minish Cap.
And Minish.
Yeah, Minish Cap came out before this.
Yeah.
Although they added a lot of the cool smoke and all these cool little effects for the GameCube.
Yeah. And you can tell what is original, and you can tell what's added, kind of like right now. So like we said, it's a cooperative adventure. You go around an overworld that looks very much almost exactly like Link to the Past. We did some cutting here because there's a lot of tutorial stuff, and then there's a lot of us messing around, hitting each other. I'm playing second player, Timmy's playing first, and Marco's playing third. Now, in this mode, as you see here, we got...
You got that wrong. I'm second, Timmy's third.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I'm blue, you're red,
yeah.
Timmy's green.
Yeah.
Easy.
So, yeah. Oh, you see that? If you're playing single player, although it's kind of weird you can see it there, that's Tim walking around there, trying to figure out how to get out of there. It does. From the dungeon perspective, it usually goes into the Game Boy Advance mode. That was one of the novelties of it, and that was a big reason why you had the Game Boy Advance.
There's just so much shit going on.
Yeah, that's why you don't have a GameCube controller, which it's required to have the Game Boy Advance if you're going to do 2 or more. And each person have to have their own Game Boy Advance for each player. Timmy's actually walking around with the
one of the AIs.
Yeah, one of the AIs, which allows us to have the 4. And it would be the same case if there's only 2 of us. I would control 1, and then first player would control 3. Yeah. And those little triangles are power triangles. They have something to do with the story. You pick them up. It's just for score.
Yeah, they're rupees.
Yeah, they serve almost no other purpose other than they do power up your sword eventually. I love that effect, actually. And in the end, score, because your score is based on how many of those you pick up, and each of them have a different value based on their size, color, blah blah blah. You can see each of us have a different weapon. There's one has boomerang, one has Timmy has the
torch.
The torch. You can only actually carry one secondary weapon at a time.
Yeah.
And in this kind of situation, probably each person should have one type of each, because eventually you pick them up. And you can kind of sort of hurt each other, although, well, not completely.
Yeah, you do damage.
See, as we're going under there, you can see that on the Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy Advance screen here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no way to really incorporate that here, but you'll have to trust us.
Well, there you go. That's what we're
Tinkle,
seeing.
Tinkle.
Oh, God.
Tingle. I hate Tingle. So this game, this game still goes for quite a bit. Just the game itself, the GameCube game in the case, go for 20 to 40 depending on its condition. The Game Boy Advances still go from 20 to 40 depending on their condition, and the link cables go from anywhere from $3 to $10 depending on where you're looking, if they're used, official, or unlicensed, whatever the case may be. In this instance, we got the game pretty cheap, but if we were to pay for everything, if you were to tally it, this probably cost you almost $100 for 4 Game Boy Advances, the cables, and the game as of this moment. That sounds
about right.
Yeah, about $100 if you want the entire experience. Is it worth it? Well,
it depends.
It depends.
If you really, this is one of those games that you really don't want to play by yourself. You want to try to play with the four people. Timmy got stuck with the AI, which makes it a little hard to control.
Yeah.
You're able to give the AI 1 to 3 AIs that you carry commands and have them set up formations that are necessary to get through certain areas. It gets to be a pain in the ass if you have to have them, though. It's better if everyone just does their own little thing.
Yeah, so basically, have 4 people, have 4 Game Boy Advances.
Exactly.
Yeah, this was one of the only other game that I can think of that does something anything similar to this was Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, which we're going to be doing soon as well. In fact, picked that up for fairly cheap. So the reason I'm mentioning that is if you actually went out and actually tried to buy this setup, there's multiple games you could play this on. You got Shadow Link right there being an asshole. And this is actually another dungeon a little later in the game. This is actually like a second or third mission. I can't remember. I did some cutting here to show you some variety. I really like that fire effect, but the only problem with that is, and I was reading some of the reviews when it came out. It's a little jarring. You can see the nice new effects that come through because of the GameCube's power, and then they layer them on top of the sprites. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship. Also,
I think the worst part is they're not cleaned up sprites at anything. They're just kind of up-resed.
Yeah.
So
you know what makes that even worse is when you notice it most is you can magnify your character for whatever reason. Sometimes just to see what's around you, and that's when and you can see when the camera kind of points in. He's like, oh my god! It's like, really?
Yeah.
People complained when this came out that it was a bit of a lazy attempt to make money. Although I think mostly what they did was spend most of their development time just trying to perfect the 4 people and then the 4 Game Boy Advances. Playing this by yourself, like Marco said, is probably not a good idea. It's not much fun. And the chaos of it, when you're playing with multiple people, that's actually what makes this fun.
Well, the chaos is an understatement. You can fuck with whoever else is playing with you. You can steal their rupees. You can pick them up and toss them across canyons, which you sometimes need to do to get to other places.
Love that.
And that. Yeah, that is pretty awesome. Although we get the higher level one in a little bit. You can basically fuck with whoever you're playing with. And I mean, it can get a little hectic because you'll have people. They're all trying to do, whatever they need to do. You're stealing their rupees, you're picking them up, you're tossing them everywhere. So.
I should also mention that in each chapter, you actually lose your perks. So whatever hearts and that you get here actually do not count after in the other chapters. You kind of have to re-earn it. And then here's the boss battle for the first chapter. Not that hard. You just have to hit him in the back. It's definitely a Miyamoto, definitely a Miyamoto game. Shower. If you spin too fast, you'll actually start spinning like that. And it's fun chaos. Expensive but fun chaos. And if you already have a Game Boy Advance. Or Advances, the cables themselves aren't that costly, and it's probably worth the price of admission if you ask me. Yeah,
it even has the Wind Waker smoke.
Yeah,
because this came out after the Wind Waker as well.
Yeah, Wind Waker being the best Zelda game, period.
that is until he actually plays through the current one, Skyward Sword, and decides that is the case.
No,
Okay.
not going there.
Oh, whatever.
And like I said, those little rupee things, rupee.
Oh, that's right.
Triangles here.
It allows you on the GBA. It's asking you.
Oh yeah,
who you thought was the most useful.
And then also the most useless, or
yes,
basically, which is just a way to make you hate your friends.
Yes.
I win. It just tallies it up, you know. It's really just there's really no other reason for this. You don't earn anything other than. Sorry, Dibby. Wow. There's the gems.
I love that.
Alright, everyone. Well, this was a classic capture for Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventure. Very expensive from a collector's point of view, but might be worth it if you have it or enjoy these types of games. So, please subscribe and let us know what you think. Thanks.